Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who's having a hard time watching her former affair partner become close to another woman who is also her friend. It's a very specific description.
I love our listeners. I love living vicariously through all of you.
Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Before we begin,
we
just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, never been, never will be. So please take our advice.
You never know.
I don't think it's in the cards. It might be for you. Everyone and their mother says you would be a great therapist.
I know, but that's just because I'm good at co-regulating. This is what my therapist taught me. So.
Yeah, sounds great. You can make a lot of money out of that.
I do. No, just kidding.
Yeah. So this is all to say, please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, today's letter is from Anxiously in Flux, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from Lost in Limbo. I listen to your podcast whenever I can, and I'm always so blown away by your responses to others and your own deep emotional conflicts and pain. I trust your authenticity and your deep intention to hear people and offer compassion and logic that, as you say, we might not want to hear. Thank you. That's something I really need, actually, and it's so hard to find. I have been in therapy before, once with 3 therapists at once. Whoa.
That sounds fun.
Whoa. Sounds intimidating.
Were they all in the same room or just like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like...
I don't know if I could handle that. I would feel ganged up on.
No.
I would become very defensive.
It's like the orgy version of therapy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but I'm not currently talking to anyone about what you're about to read except my affair partner, who I believe in the deepest part of me really wants to help me find space of safety and self-possession. It's just complicated. I am a 55-year-old woman married to a 62-year-old man. And I've been in a relationship with a different man, age 61, for over a decade. Before the affair started, I was faithful and could never imagine myself otherwise, even though the power dynamic in my marriage was not in my favor. I was once pressured into an abortion that traumatized me so deeply. I returned to college to work on a graduate's degree in my early 40s, entered the professor, who was also married and a father to one. This man showed an interest in my mind and my feelings and my future and in me. I felt so seen. I felt so validated as a thinker and a writer, which wasn't the case at home. I'm not justifying my choices, but they were contextual. I fell hard. I didn't know at first that the professor was notorious for escapades, for pursuing women, finding evidence that they were open to him, and then either dropping them completely or keeping them on the line for future hits of affirmation, his words later on. He was sexually and emotionally abused as a young adult, I would learn later on, and we each went through so much pain trying to understand and find compassion for one another while working through his continued escapades and our own affair that was on again, off again. 6 months ago, he kissed me in a semi-public space where his parents, wife, and daughter also were. Nobody saw, and he had an epiphany afterwards regarding his desire to protect his family from the threat to their well-being that his secrecy with me creates. I absolutely respect that choice. He told me that he had to stop the affair and that he didn't want us to keep any more secrets. He said that he hoped that we could forge an above-board relationship that would allow us to see each other and interact without hurting anyone. His wife and my husband both know that we had an emotional affair years ago, but we told them with the intention that we weren't going to maintain the relationship. He also maintained that he wants us to have our time, read marriage, later on. Okay, this is getting confusing, so I just want to be like, he said that he wants to marry you in the future, period, okay? Yeah. And that he feels that we will find our way to that. His daughter is now in 10th grade, and he believes that it will somehow be easier to leave his marriage when she's in college. Tale as fucking old as time. My kids are already out of college, and I've expressed to him that it's not like that. It's still scary and feels impossible. That's right. I've been married for 35 years, and while I know how this looks and actually how it is in reality, I do not want to cause pain to the people I love, including my affair partner. Anyway, Instead of waiting for the above board opportunity to interact, we have a secret friendship. And can you believe that I'm only now getting to the problem? That's charming and sad.
Yeah.
He is now in a close working relationship and friendship with one of the women he flirted with in the past, one whom he even suggested 7 years ago, to my great pain and sadness, we might ask to, quote, join us, which I personally can't and would never do in any situation, and who, by the way, never responded to his advances. Add to this, she is one of my best friends and knows what he and I have gone through. He doesn't know she knows. When he started building this genuinely and accurately described as working relationship with her and her husband that is growing into a close friendship, I started freaking out. Once I even broke it off with him. Wait. Oh, this was before his epiphany, which seemed to surprise him. He was devastated, but not to the degree that he stopped pursuing the working relationship with her and her husband. And eventually I decided to try and manage my fear and pain, and he and I reconciled. Both before and after the physical affair ended, I've stayed so scared and hypervigilant about every moment he spends with her, and even moments he spends with her husband, because I know it means they'll become closer. I worry that I'll become irrelevant to both of them. I find it hard to trust both of them. I know intellectually that he isn't pursuing her. I know intellectually that I'm safe in that regard. But I'm still so scared and hurting so much. I know my emotions are responding to historical triggers, but that doesn't make the hurt any less. I feel like circumstances have made it impossible to experience safety with him. Whew! That sentence alone.
Yeah, I know.
Is so powerful.
Highlight it.
I feel like circumstances have made it impossible to experience safety with him. I want other people to like write that down and like carry that with them as applied to their own relationships. And now she's doing things with his friends that I can't participate in. She was in my circle, and now it seems like she's more in his. I already feel like an outsider, not fully belonging with my religious but deeply detached family, or with my academic world. I teach at that college now, a world that he seems to represent in my psyche. I feel betrayed by her because she knows how scared I get, and I feel betrayed by him because he continues to nurture that relationship knowing how much it scares me. He believes that I can work through this by putting pressure on older wounds that make it so hard for me to relax, even though I know rationally that I'm safe. But are you?
Yeah.
Okay. But every time I hear any corroboration between them, I panic and want to cut all ties with both of them post haste. She doesn't know about his comment about a threesome. Wait, she doesn't?
You should tell her.
I thought he
talked about potentially asking her to do it.
Oh, okay.
And she...
Okay. He didn't ever reach out.
No.
Okay. But I've wanted to tell her and make it awkward for her to be around him. I have visions of him and his wife having dinner with my friend and her husband. Or, of them out on a boat together, of them having drinks around a bonfire. I want to be healthy. I want to believe I can be healthy in relationships with them. I want to be able to calm down and trust what I know instead of being crippled by my worst fears that I know are unfair and illogical. My most characteristic self-sabotage is accepting situations that aren't healthy for me. I married the same abuser twice, not my current husband. I agreed to an abortion that wasn't right for me, and I continue to work on my relationship with my affair partner, even when he was escapating and I was so hurt and scared. Now, I can't tell if it's right for me to work on what's behind my irrational fears while maintaining friendships with the professor and with my really good girlfriend, or if it's right to get away from this constant anxiety and hypervigilance. I mean, it gets so intense that I want to know the text between the guy and her husband say. I mean, it gets so intense that I want to know what the text between my guy and her husband say. I feel so ridiculous. I love him and I know he loves me. I want to believe that we can find a space of safety together that isn't damaging to others. He feels absolutely safe when where I'm concerned, but I can't seem to reciprocate. Can you help? Lost in limbo.
Ooh, friend. Thank you for writing to us and for sharing this with us. I think that your letter is so profound in some of its self-understanding. Like Sierra said, there are just like these moments that you shared with us where it's like, this is so true and so sort of introspective and understanding of your past and the way that past is affecting you. And there's so much in this that feels so confused. And I think that it's important to talk about both of them, because I think, at least for me, those moments of clarity where you can understand yourself so deeply and say, I know that I get into situations where I believe people at the expense of my own understanding and intuition, right? And then have these moments of saying, I know that the things that I'm feeling about this man are irrational and crazy, and I'm the one that's making things up about this situation. And like the stark difference between both of those things that you're holding is really clear to me, I think, as an outsider, and I think it's clear to Sierra as well. And I don't know the words to describe how I'm feeling about this letter, because I'm so amazed at the profundity of your ability to understand yourself. And I'm also so concerned about how much you are doubting your own experience of this man and his behavior.
And justifying.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That it makes me concerned that this relationship is not as safe as you are telling us that it is, and that you're telling yourself that it is. And so I think Sierra and I are going to be offering you some wonderful compassion and support for those moments of clarity when you're recognizing some of the patterns that you are falling into. And I think we're also going to try and offer you some perspective on a decade-long relationship that, in my opinion, has never been one that you could fully trust from the beginning, and that is now sort of clouding some of your judgment around your own understandable and very justified feelings about how your friend / former affair partner has been behaving towards you and towards other people. So thank you for writing. I just want to say first off that we love you. We so appreciate you trusting us with this. And we really hope that through some of the things that we're going to point out and some things that we're going to share, that it'll offer you a better way to kind of hold all of the complexity of what you're feeling and kind of be able to see some of the red flags that are present in this relationship with this man. So we're going to do that in just a minute. Before that, we're going to take a quick break.
All right, my darlings, welcome back, and a special welcome to our letter writer. I have so much love and compassion for you, and I really deeply understand this panic, this confusion, and the obsession. The anxiety on an obsession. The anxiety on an obsessive level where you're like, oh my God, I just need to know what the texts are saying. I'm picturing them together. Like, this is becoming bigger than a standard nervousness, right? And I have that gene in me, right? Like, I have the ability to obsess, to have my anxiety just take over every single thought process and have my nervous system just go along for the ride, like totally in panic mode. So I have so much compassion for what all of the sensations that you're feeling right now, on top of heartbreak. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But I want to paint the picture that Sam and I see, because I think so often that is probably the biggest gift that we can give our listeners, is just like what we see from our vantage point. So let me regurgitate what I received from your letter. You are unhappy in your marriage. You say that you're unvalidated, you're unvalued. And so you go to this school and you meet a chronic womanizer who is incapable of monogamy. And I'm going to say that again, just so you hear every word that I used intentionally that you didn't use. You didn't use the word, he cheated on me, right? You didn't use the word womanizer, right? You use words that are like adjacent to it, that he was escapading and that he takes advantage of of women in his program, right? And that this is a reoccurring pattern. So I'm going to say chronic, compulsive womanizer in a position of power who has a current history and on track record of taking advantage of women in his program or women around him, who is unable to, over the last decade that you've known him and before that, to maintain monogamous or safe relationships with the women around him, yourself included, right?
And honest,
I'm
right?
sure he
honest relationships with them too. Like he has not been able to maintain that, right? Like I don't want to disparage people who aren't monogamous, but like he's being non-monogamous and lying about it.
Oh yeah, this is about about the fact that he is saying that he's in a monogamous relationship with his wife, we're presuming, and that you would want that in the future. Like he said, one day we're going to be together and be married. Do you think he's going to be monogamous then? Do you think he's going to be a different person than who he's been the decade that you've known him?
And who he has proven himself to be, too.
Yes. I also want to say, I know that this man has good traits. I know that he has made you feel things that you haven't felt in decades. And I know he's probably smart and talented. And man, there's nothing sexier than a hot professor. Let me tell you, I had the hots for one of my English professors because his lectures were so good. It's a gift. It's an art, right? Like, I get it. But going back to the picture that I'm seeing that I can paint for you, chronic womanizer, unable to maintain monogamy, is now pursuing someone who he knows is deeply close to you, despite knowing that, number one, despite your wishes that were previously discussed in the past. And the last thing I want to say from what I see from my vantage point, which is, granted, a guess, but I think most of the listeners are going to agree with me. You are not going to marry this man. This relationship is not going to end after a decade of him being untrustworthy, being inconsistent, right? It's not going to magically turn around in a decade, right? Like he is not going to give you what you are, quote, working towards, because he's not working towards it. He's just saying it. They're just words, right? So what Sam and I are concerned about is that we see these profound moments of self-revelations, these profound moments of self-compassion. I know you have it in you to be your own protector. I know you have it in you to stand up for yourself. I know that you deserve better than this relationship with your affair partner and your marriage, right? I know that. So why are we prioritizing a, quote, friendship, right? Skeptical eyes at that. Like, we can call it a friendship if you want, but a, quote, friendship with somebody who is bringing chaos, anxiety, conflict, and inconsistency to your life, who is also trying to appease you with promises of the total opposite of his behavior in the unknown future, right? He's not going to leave his family when his daughter goes to college, because it's not like that.
And even if he does, even if you get married, nothing about the behavior that he's shown you so far would in any way support the idea that he is going to be a faithful and committed husband to you, right? And I think it's what's troubling to me about your letter is the ways in which this man has created a world that is separated from reality, in which you are the person who's irrational, who's making things up, who can't seem to be able to trust him, even as he has exhibited and shown you multiple times how deeply untrustworthy he is, right? He has shown you by having relationships with other people. He has shown you by not making good on the promises that he's made to you, right? He has shown you.
Yo, this reminds me. This reminds me of when my ex broke up with me, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to tell this story again for like the 30th time on the podcast, because I was just sitting here listening to Sam and I disparage this man. But like I said earlier, I know there are good things. I know he's probably bomb in bed. I know he can say the right thing so that he can affirm your mind and all of these things. And in the same moment, in the same breath, in the same body, he is choosing not to be with you. He's choosing not to leave his wife. He's choosing to have his, quote, escapades with other women. And when I was like heartbroken over my ex breaking up with me, and I was like, oh no, I shouldn't block him. I want to be a part of his, family. Like, I want to be able to text his mom or something like that because I was close with her. Sam was like, he's choosing to not have you be a part of his family. He's choosing to not have you in his life.
Mm-hmm. He's choosing to sleep with strangers rather than have a relationship with you.
And you know what? That
it's not a bad
at the
thing.
time.
Yeah, it's okay.
No,
like if that's what he wanted to do.
Is fine.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do.
Vibe.
That's no, for sure, absolutely. But it's not worth you getting all hung up over it. You know what I mean? But I think that this is the core of what I think is so challenging about this letter, because it's like, this man has lied to you, has like cheated on you, has pursued your friend and said, let's invite her into our relationship, even though you didn't want that to happen. And now is like, oh, we'll get married someday, but for now I'm going to like be really close to this woman who's your friend. And you are the one that feels irrational, right? He's made it so that you're the one that's making things up, right? You have to press on old wounds or whatever that means, because what is that bullshit? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The issue here is that this man has proven himself to be untrustworthy throughout your entire relationship. And then when you approach him and say, friend, I don't trust you, he says, oh, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. Right? This is the quintessential definition of gaslighting. Like, that word gets thrown out like too many times and it is overused. But this thing where you have these completely rational concerns about this man and his trustworthiness, and he says, no, you're crazy. No, that's a you problem. No, those are old wounds that are coming up. Like, it's manipulative. It's gross. And it frustrates me. Like, it doesn't frustrate me. I'm getting like emotional about it because I'm so upset that he's doing this to you. And I am so hurt by the fact that he has undermined your sense of your own truth so deeply that you're writing to two strangers on the internet and saying, how do I stop being so irrational about my mistrust for this man? As opposed to saying, this man is so untrustworthy. How do I get him out of my life? How do I warn other women about the fact that he exploits them, uses them, cheats on his wife with them, impacts their relationship? The fact that this woman is your best friend and you have not told her that he has actively tried to pursue her, that he has actively wanted to invite her into threesome relationships with you, despite you not wanting to do that, is like, it's baffling to me, not because I think that you're doing something wrong or that you're you can't figure this out. It's baffling to me because he has so distorted your sense of reality that you are prioritizing protecting his bad behavior over making sure that you are in a healthy space for yourself, right? You say in your letter, I want to be healthy. And this man has so eroded your sense of reality that you are thinking that being healthy means somehow continuing to buy his lies and his untrustworthiness and just like tamp down what you know to be true about him, which is that he is not a person who you can trust and not a person that other people around him can trust. And like, I just want to I want to say this so explicitly because I need you to like shake out of whatever spell this man has cast on you, because the things that you're saying to us are so understandable given the history that you've had with him. And then you're asking us, how do I stop being so irrational about this? When I'm like, this is the most rational thing you could be feeling. Of course you don't trust him around this person who's your best friend. You know his track record of behaving really badly with the women in his life. You shouldn't trust him. You shouldn't feel comfortable with this. Like, that's the long and short of it. Like, I don't want to help you reframe how to hold this man in a way that allows him to keep doing what he's doing. I want to reframe this in a way so that you can see what you know to be true, which is that like, this man is a threat to your friend. Like, he is. He's not a person that you should trust with her. She deserves better than to have this man in her life, her life. Like,
and I want to like put you to the forefront of this conversation. It's not just because this man is untrustworthy around women. It's because your feelings matter. Your experience of this relationship, whether or not it was an affair, matter. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to put distance between yourself. You're allowed to go to one of your best fucking friends and say, I had this terrible relationship with this man, or like, I've had this very complicated relationship with this man. I'm starting to realize that like he might not be the safest space for me, and how he's interacting with you and your husband is making me really nervous. And I don't want to lose my friend, and I'm grieving, and and in an affair that has lasted this long and still remaining with your husband, still remaining in community with your affair partner, there's a lot of feelings going on right now. And if you want to be healthy, you need to start prioritizing your experience of this, right? And that means being like, if I'm uncomfortable around this man, I don't want to be around him, right? If I'm uncomfortable at the thought of this man having a relationship with one of my best friends, you have every fucking right in the world to honor that sacred relationship between you and your girlfriend and saying like, hey, can we get a glass of wine? I need to talk to you about everything I'm carrying right now and everything I'm worried about, right? Like, I see all of the ways in which you are bending yourself to fit the way that this man wants you to stay in his life. And we have not even touched on the fact that you are still in a marriage that makes you feel undervalued and unhappy. We haven't even talked about the fact that the reason why you started this affair was because you're unhappy in your marriage, and you have every right in the world to end that marriage. And this is your only life. This is your only one wild and precious life. And you, to be healthy, is to start to tend to the wounds, to like nurture the wounds that have taught you to maintain when things are uncomfortable for you, or to maintain when you have to do things that make you feel unsafe. I want you to start prioritizing your safety, prioritizing your happiness, prioritizing your peace, and prioritizing what it is that would make you happy in a sustainable, safe, loving way. And it starts with you, right? Like, get a divorce, leave the person that you don't actually want to be with. And once you take away that Band-Aid, all of a sudden you're like, why am I making space for this person who is never going to marry me, who is never going to commit to me in a different way, and who is chronically unsafe to the people around me?
Even in your letter, you tell us that exactly what Sierra said. You know, you say in the letter, my most characteristic self-sabotage is accepting situations that aren't healthy for me. And this is true of your marriage, right? Where this isn't healthy for you. If you're unhappy, right? You need to be honest about what you want and what you're looking for and whether this marriage is for you, right? A situation that's unhealthy with this affair partner who has proven himself untrustworthy and continues to try and distort your understanding of reality. And so much so that you can't even be in a healthy relationship with your best friend when talking about what's been happening and telling her, hey, this person isn't trustworthy. I don't think that you should be working with him. I don't think that you should be allowing him to pursue you in this way. And so I just want to offer you so much compassion and love. Like, I understand that this situation is deeply complicated, and it's not just like, oh, I fell into this, right? Like, this has been 10 years of experience that you've had with this man that has taught you a very particular way of looking at this situation. But I think it's important that you need to start being honest with yourself about what this relationship is and who this man is. And you need to start being honest with the folks around you about what you have been doing, about what your experiences have been, because this type of manipulation thrives in secrecy. He even said it. He said it when he said, like, I keeping you a secret. I have to keep you a secret, right? Like, and I don't like that, but it's like my compulsion to keep you a secret. And it's like, yes, because if what he was doing were out in the open, he would face consequences for it. And he doesn't want to do that. Sorry,
man. Sometimes
am I
Sam
going
tells
too
the
hard?
truth and it just hurts. It's just like so offensive.
Right? So everything about this, and I'm so thankful that you trusted us to tell us the truth about what's happening, because I think I am hopeful that this is the first step in many steps where you can start being honest with yourself and the people around you about what this experience has been, who this man truly is, and what you actually need from the people around you, which is not to be kept a secret and not to be made to feel crazy for not trusting a man who has proven himself untrustworthy time and time again. We love you so much, and we just know that you deserve to not be someone's dirty little secret and to not be manipulated in this way. You deserve to be in good friendship with yourself, first of all, and also with the people around you who you can trust. And this man isn't it. He is not the person where you can find health and security, because he has proven to you that he is not somebody worth trusting.
Yeah, absolutely. My darling, we love you so much, and we hope this helps.
Thank you so much for writing. We love you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to those office hours, which is when Sierra and I hop on Zoom with anyone who wants to join us. We answer questions, we engage in conversation. It is the hidden gem of Just Break Up. It's so much fun. Our next one is going to be on October 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So join Patreon now to get access to that. It's $5 a month, patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DM, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music. And remember, this is your one wild and precious life. You may have been taught to withstand discomfort. You may have been told to deprioritize your own needs, to stay in situations that make you feel unsafe as a means for survival, but you can learn to do differently. You deserve to do differently, to finally walk into the light and say, my feelings matter, my safety matters, my love is important, and I deserve to be happy. And if all else fails,
just break up.